everyone, and welcome to the Coach Kellie Speak Show. I am here with Dr. Raglan.
Hi, everybody. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for joining us on today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I'm very honored. So, anything for my
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, so this week was interesting. I like to kind of do the first 10 minutes about just talking about our week, just
All right.
how, it was. A lot of people kind of see us just when we show up, but
Right.
don't know, like what was your week like. So my week was just very interesting. Of course, last week I heard all during the week the shooting in
my
Vegas.
gosh. Yes.
And the hurricane relief, and
Mm-hmm.
we even had a conversation about just how it's going, and people just like 5 basic necessities.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of the things I shared with Kelly is that I'm a medical director for Healthy Encores, and it is a nonprofit organization, and we actually do a health fair every year in St. Thomas, and just it's really heartbreaking right now because St. Thomas still doesn't have power yet, and they really don't anticipate having power to the end of the year. So we were talking about some of the hurricane relief efforts that we're actually doing. And we're providing, really right now there's so much that they need, but what they need most happens to be batteries and flashlights. And I mean, and it just seems so simple, but because they still don't have power and they still have a curfew, they're out of those supplies because everybody needs them. So they need us to send it from everywhere that we can possibly get it from because they just don't have access to them right now. But we've been sending clothes and food, just toilet paper and paper towels, water, lots of water. And we actually had a shipping company, Tropicana, that worked with us and actually sent most of our things free of charge. They gave us 30 days, anything we could send for 30 days free of charge. So they were such a blessing. So this is, it's just been an incredible couple of weeks.
So are they still accepting donations?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, we've had 2 efforts so far, and I'm planning one that's going to be at the Arc in Washington, D.C. on Mississippi Avenue sometime in October. I'm still waiting for them to give me a date. But you can contact, again, we'll put up my information from my website, but you can contact me on my website or Healthy Encores website, Healthy Encores Incorporated. Because they also will accept information. I mean, any kind of donations, even monetary. We've been just doing as much as we possibly can because it's just not normal. These kids are still not in school, so we're sending educational materials, books.
Okay.
We're just sending anything that we can get our hands on, so that trying to just normalize things for folks in St. Thomas right now. But there's so many other places. Puerto Rico, they're still dealing with Harvey effects in Texas. So any relief effort that you choose to participate in, people would be more than grateful to accept any donation.
Yeah, so it was a somber week. Just
Yeah.
even though, in your own personal life you can be having an amazing time or
Absolutely.
moment, but you can still just watching the news and just saying, that it's so much work to be done, just around the world.
It really is.
And so, and then the climate that we are in, I was looking at this whole thing with Dove, and just watching how the media has a tendency to alter advertising.
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely every time.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the fact that what people think they know because of the media. They know because of television. They know because they said this is what we're supposed to have. We even talked about that with even food and nutrition. You see this commercial, and they're hiking and they're going up a mountain, and then they put up a Nature Valley granola bar. So you think, oh, I need to get that because that's healthy. But no one really knows that isn't what you do for things like weight loss, or weight management. That's if you're going to go hiking, actually. It's actually good for reserved energy if you're going to go. But the things that they show us, the images that they show us, is purposeful. It's purposeful. And so when you have the situation that, with Dove, and you're, showing things that aren't necessarily, what people think it is, it's a little bit heartbreaking. So.
Yeah, it can be, especially if you haven't gotten an opportunity to know the whole story, to see the whole story. For me, I try to wait it out before I create an opinion about
Absolutely.
anything. I try to just kind of understand the background of it, and and not just have my own assumptions about any topic, because there's always another way of looking at it. So that to me this week, I was just watching, I always say watching Facebook, because it really does feel like you watching TV, because it's constantly, it's images and just everything that's just going on, and just a lot of the young African American men who are dying at the hands of other Black and African Americans. And so just this week, I saw RIP for 4 different young men under the age of 20. So my week was just somber, just my outside influences.
And we actually had that conversation when we were in the shop about the attack on our men, the attack on our young men. And what we don't realize is it's not just coming from the outside, it's coming from the inside too, and really just trying to get them to see and understand their value and their worth, and who they are and why they are. If you figure out what your purpose is, all this other stuff, it just seems so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you got to have that. You got to have the right people around you to point you back to your purpose. We were just talking about that, about those attacks. So you're right.
So you have to just be intentional about your purpose. And so, Dr. Ragland, you have 3 beautiful children, you're a pediatrician. How do you balance all of those different hats?
Wow. Well, I always say that my first job is mom. It just is. My 3 children, as you said, are beautiful. They're definitely my inspiration for just about everything that I do. My oldest is in college now. It's her first year. She'll be home in a couple of days, for the fall break. And then my son in high school, my youngest is actually in the 7th grade. And even what I do with nutrition, even what I've gotten into as a pediatrician, I've always really dealt with the basics with kids, all the general pediatric issues, ear infections and immunizations and all that stuff. But what I started really focusing on in Southeast DC, because that's the sort of the neighborhood and the community that I serve, was that there was so much child and adolescent obesity. And for me, handling that meant I need to do something, not just with the people in my community, especially with my own children. And so what I make sure I do with them is they cook, they know how to cook, they know, ingredients, they know, what to ask for, what to do. They go places and people come back and talk to me and they're like, okay, I didn't know you're a child. I remember my daughter was young, and my cousin of mine complained because my daughter wouldn't eat her macaroni and cheese because she told her it was orange because it was boxed. My child had never seen boxed macaroni and cheese, and she was like, it just didn't look right. It was orange. And even at my house, macaroni and cheese had vegetables in it. She thought all macaroni and cheese had vegetables in it, and she was like, no, honey, that's not macaroni and cheese. So anytime I can, I've always snuck vegetables in, made any regular meal that we even know is traditional. I've tried to make it a little different, like a healthier version. So if I really think about it, I balance it more because I do more things from a mother's perspective, from a parent perspective. So even when I'm at work, it's more like I'm advising other parents about what I do with my own kids, or what I would do, even if it came down to immunizations or an issue, if it's an infection and I'm going to, give a prescription or not. What would I do with my own child? That's kind of how I see it. And so balancing it really comes from just staying centered in my family and what I focus on, and then kind of going out from there for me.
I think that's awesome. I was even talking about how I, trick my kids into eating the, veggie burgers and for so many years using just, beef or turkey meat. I was trying to find all of these healthy options, but amazingly, my kids, they didn't even know the difference until I said something.
Right, because there are many products, if you get them, they're really good, that have the right consistency, that aren't, there's not too much sodium, there's not too much, because the problem is many of the, and we have to be, that's one of the things I actually talk about in my book. Sometimes things that we think healthier versions aren't necessarily because they're so processed and so modified. So you still have to be careful, but for the most part, you can find good ingredients that have good texture and that are not full of sodium. They're not full of additives and preservatives. And they're actually very tasty. And, again, when you get children involved in cooking, this is really what I've learned. They're more inclined to eat a meal because they made it, So now they want you to actually like it too, and now they're going to eat it out of pride. So that's one of the ways I've always hooked my kids into like eating more of these meals is that they cook it with me. So now they're really going to eat it, but when they don't know and you made it, and I'm like, okay, but this is your meal. So we're going to eat this now. And they're like, okay, because now they're proud of it.
Yeah. So why do you think that childhood obesity is a huge problem?
Oh my goodness. So we only have how many minutes? There's so many factors. So we can talk about really things like the additives and the preservatives in foods that have been modified. I mean, when you think about fast food chains that have I want to say probably more than quadrupled over the past, 20 years. When I was young, a little bit close to 50, but when I was young, there was a McDonald's maybe on every 4, maybe 5 blocks. I mean, but it wasn't, you see, now you'll have groups of fast food places all over the place, and people really go to these these are their go-tos during the week. So it's a lot of fast food, but there's also these convenience foods. Convenience foods are foods that you think you're cooking, but you're not really cooking. So you go into the grocery store, you go in, you get those frozen meals, and all you're adding is chicken. That's not a home-cooked meal, but people really think of that as a home-cooked meal. But there's so many more additives and preservatives and sugar and salt. But they believe they're cooking. You're not cooking. You're just adding chicken, but you aren't controlling the amount of calories. And so there's the decreased physical activity, PE in a lot of schools now. So the school system and the school day has changed. Some schools have even gone to 6-day weeks, trying to get in as much academics as they can, but they still don't have a whole lot of PE. So we have a lot less activity and a lot more calories in our food. Vending machines in schools that have sodas and candy bars. And we didn't have vending machines in our school. I mean, not when I was a kid, but a lot of schools do. But they come out of school and they're bombarded with 7-Elevens on every corner with Slurpees. They're bombarded with, the candy and the sugar and the fast food. And they're eating these things even before they get home. And then they want to have dinner. So, and then our school lunch program, we don't want to talk about our school lunch program because they're full of products that are to feed the masses. To feed the masses, you're going to use fillers. You're going to use corn and wheat. You're doing chicken nuggets and pizza and French fries or tater tots and corn dogs. And the list goes on. And these are not nutritive foods. They're not nutrient dense. They're full of sugar, and sugar is just going to placate your appetite for a short time, and then you're going to be ready to eat again. People always talk about things like Chinese food. And they're like, oh, an hour later, I'm hungry. You're not hungry, but your blood sugar level has dropped. It raised your blood sugar level up. You felt real good. Next thing you know, about an hour and a half later, you feel like you're hungry again. And it can't possibly be that you're hungry, but your blood sugar level drops. So now you need a little something. Middle of the day, people want a little something. They get a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi or a candy bar because they're constantly on these sugar highs and they need to get back up there. And so we really have to understand that so that if you're eating more things like protein, you're not having these sugar highs and lows all day. I mean, people know, if anybody knows me, they know I always have a protein bar in my bag or in my glove compartment or somewhere, because that's the thing I'm going to eat. It's not going to be a candy bar. It's not going to be, a soda. It's not going to be something that's going to shoot my blood sugar up. just so I can
So
drop.
what does the protein shake actually do for your body?
So protein shake and protein bars is a meal replacement. I mean, basically, what a meal is, there's the difference between a meal and a snack. So a snack is an incomplete meal. And most times a snack, it can be an apple, a banana. It's still a snack because all you're getting is a carbohydrate. When you have a carbohydrate with a protein and preferably a small amount of fat, now you actually have a full meal, and all the parts, all of those things actually help your appetite, helps satiate your appetite. It keeps your blood sugar level normal, and it stops you from actually dropping. So a lot of times if you don't eat at all, your metabolism's going to slow down. So it keeps your metabolism going. So what a protein shake does, or a protein bar, none of them, they'll say 0 sugar. They have some carbs. They'll say 0 sugar, but they do have some carbs. They have a lot of protein, and most of them will have a little bit of fat. So it's really a meal replacement versus a snack that isn't. So even if you're going to have, say, apple slices, do it with peanut butter. Do it with, some other protein, cottage cheese or yogurt. A lot of times one of my favorite meals, and people will call it a snack when they look at it, but it's a cut up apple, like a half cup of fat-free yogurt, and I'll throw some walnuts in there, maybe sprinkle some cinnamon on it. But that's a meal, because that's at least 250 calories. That's a meal. So.
Okay, so I had a question because someone was saying, I was telling them that I watched this documentary with the health, in which prone me to stop eating meat. And so a lot of people, as I, tell them that, they'll say, well, just because you're a vegetarian or pescatarian, I'm eating fish, that doesn't mean that you're going to lose weight. Is that true?
So that's a great question. My problem is a lot of people don't understand how to eat if they're going to stop eating meat. I don't have a problem with people who don't eat meat, but many people who are calling themselves vegetarians are actually carbitarians. So the problem is a vegetarian eats vegetables.
Okay.
That's fine. If you're going to eat vegetables, you eat the right vegetables, you have the right amount of vitamins and minerals and nutrients. A carbitarian just doesn't eat meat. So pasta's not meat, cake isn't meat, chips isn't meat. That doesn't mean you're going to lose weight just because you're not eating meat. So a person who just decides not to eat meat but doesn't make the right decision to eat the right foods that aren't meat, they're still overweight. They're still coming to my office to see me. And so when I'm trying to tell them to increase protein in their diet, because protein is what you need to actually speed up your metabolism and lose weight, they're pushing back because they don't want to eat meat. But you're eating cake, chocolate ice cream, chips, wine. I mean, you're eating everything that's not meat, that's not healthy. So you have to understand, it's not just about, so if you're not a carbitarian and you're a true vegetarian or pescatarian, so with pescatarians, you're getting protein from fish. So that's fine, or from seafood. That's okay. Even a true vegetarian that's getting mostly vegetables and vegetable source proteins, I can deal with them and I can show them how to lose weight. But people who are just not eating meat, there's a difference between them and true vegetarians or pescatarians.
Right. And so with eating healthy, cooking healthy, what are some healthy seasonings that can, spruce up, that could spruce up your diet? Because of course, for myself, if I'm sauteing my vegetables, I'll use butter. And I know that it tastes good, but I know that there's some other alternatives out there because I don't want to be counterproductive either.
So let's be clear, though. So what a lot of people don't realize is butter isn't the worst thing in the world for you, truthfully. Olive oil is better. But as long as it is, so the thing about butter, you want to have healthy fats in your diet. So if you're non-dairy, then you don't want butter. But if you're doing dairy, butter's okay if you're not using lots of butter. I think a lot of people mistakenly, because there was a time when we emphasized low-fat diet. Low fat, low fat, low fat. So everything, a lot of the products, we were removing fat from the products, thinking that was actually what was causing us to become overweight. Well, that's not the case. You know, if you read a lot of the studies now, research shows that you actually need fat. In fact, fat often satiates your appetite. It can actually, not a lot of it, but a minimal good amount. We call them MUFAs, monounsaturated fatty acids. So things like avocado, olive oil, certain nuts. So you do want fat, and butter is okay if you're not constantly cooking with butter. So I just want to make that clear. It's not so much fat, it's actually sugar that's the problem.
Okay.
So with cooking and seasonings, the one thing I tell people is, don't be afraid of seasonings that are from different cultures. I mean, I'll throw curry in something, I'll throw coriander, I'll throw, just all kinds of different herbs and spices. I made parsley and oregano, I'll do thyme. I mean, I just put all kinds of different things. Rosemary is one of my favorite. I'll do rosemary on all kinds of stuff. Okay. So you want to actually add herbs so that it has these different flavors, so that, you're not depending on just things like butter and salt. Because the problem is traditionally we've depended on three things: butter, salt, and sugar.
Okay.
If we want to make something taste better, that's why people use ketchup, because ketchup has the sugar and the salt in there. People throw, all kinds of these condiments on it, but it's really because they're used to either salt, sugar, or fat to make something taste better, as opposed to using herbs.
Actual herbs and spices. Yeah. So how do you stay so fit with such a busy lifestyle? You know what I mean? I know you do the protein shakes, but what else do you do?
So, I mean, for the most part, there's a couple things. Really knowing what your calorie count is. A lot of people do not want to be told to watch their calories, but you have to. It's like, I have a car. My car takes 15 gallons of gas. I can't put any more than the amount that I can put. It's on full. I can't put any more. So a lot of times what people don't realize is they're eating more calories than they need for their current energy needs. And when they do, your body only has one choice. It's going to store what you don't need right now for later. The only storage process in the body is fat. That's the only storage process. So if you only need I'm 5'6", and my body weight, my ideal body weight is 145 to 50 pounds. So at that weight, I only need 240 calories per meal, 5 meals a day. I've worked it out and do it all the time. Well, that's what I need, 240. So if I eat a meal, though, that's 320 or 350 calories, my body has to store the other 100. It just has to. There's nothing else it can do with it. I can't force my body to use it right now. Now, if I'm running marathons and doing some other things and I increase my metabolism, then I may need more calories. But for the most part, for regular activities, sitting around, sitting at the office, getting in and out of the car, so I know what my calorie count is. I do not skip meals. I eat 5 meals a day. I eat every 3 hours. Every 3 hours. That is probably the hardest part. Right. Because people are like, well, how do you do that? You see, I have patience. I have my 3 kids. I'm going and doing things like this. I'm giving talks. I eat every 3 hours. Why? How do I do it? That's why the protein shakes and protein bars come in handy, because if my 3 hours comes and I'm on my way to get my children from school, or I have a PTA meeting, or I have, to go, then I reach right under my glove compartment. There's protein bars there. If, it's somewhere at work, I have protein shakes at all the offices I work in. Every office that has a refrigerator has protein shakes, and they all know they're mine. I get phone calls from my nurses. Dr. Ragland, I didn't bring lunch today. Can I have one of your protein shakes? You absolutely can. Because they know that I always have something where I am, because the 3 hour thing really matters, because it keeps your metabolism up. It actually speeds your metabolism up. Skipping meals sounds like a good idea. It sounds like, well, I just didn't get around to it. But it slows your metabolism down. And I'm, like I said, being close to 50, I do everything I can to keep my metabolism up, because especially as women, our metabolism slow down with our changes in hormones, all that stuff. You just can't afford not to. exercise, I try. I get it in when I can. But the truth is, I do more dealing with nutrition and actually keeping that under control, and then exercising as often as I can when I can.
So there's so many fitness trends out there. We're seeing a lot of women who are doing the body shapers and the waist trainers, and so my question is for you: is that a real thing? Just the whole, the waist trainer thing. I see it all over Instagram and Facebook. I've tried it. I know. I have probably like 6 or 7 waist trainers, and I know people who have probably as many as I do. But does it really work?
Okay, so here's the deal. It's hard to explain. It's not so much the waist trainer that works. If you're learning and using the waist trainer correctly, what you really should be learning to do is tighten your abdominal muscles. It's a muscle thing, right? So it's just like people who know they're trying to work out their glutes are doing squats. If you're tightening your abdominal muscles, if you're always constantly thinking about tightening them, then actually you're gonna cinch up your waist, and you're gonna keep those core muscles tight, and that's gonna actually help your waistline. When you have a waist trainer on, most people are not thinking about cinching up their abdominal muscles because it's doing it for them. So if you learn to have it on and let it be a reminder for you to do it, then that's different. But if you're depending on just a waist trainer to do it miraculously on its own, it's not helping. Now, for some people, what happens is just having it on is restrictive enough that they don't overeat. They don't do, what I mean? So it helps them in that aspect, but it's not really the waist trainer making them smaller. It's hard to explain. You have to work on those muscles. You have to understand that, there's portion control. All that stuff can come with using a waist trainer, because it's a reminder. It's a constant reminder. It's like having braces on, or a retainer, or the little thing that's in your. If you have that reminder, you're constantly doing certain things that will keep you from being sort of out of whack. But you got to tighten those muscles on your own. You can't just assume the waist trainer is going to tighten it. So.
Well, that was good, because I was just thinking about that question. I see it all the time. But we're going to take a quick break, and after that, we'll have more of Dr. Ragland.
All right.
Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Coach Kellie, from the Coach Kellie Speaks Talk Show. I'm here to talk about my brand new book, The 30-Day, 30-Minute Visionary Journal, Awakening the Finisher Within. I wrote this book because I wanted to inspire other people to be finishers in their own personal journey of business and everyday life. So writing this book has really helped me to organize my thoughts a lot better, and has also just made me look at things different and not put so much pressure on myself, because before I would try to compile so much information in at one time, but now it has slowed my pace down a lot, and I'm able to really plan things out in a 30-day, in a 30-minute manner. And so I think that now, with different projects that I'm working on, I feel that I'm a little more confident in what it is that I'm doing, because I've actually planned it out better. So I hope that people who get this book will have a deeper appreciation for, number one, who they are, what they've been called to, and the people group that they've been called to as well. I also want people to have a clear and step-by-step guide to how to fight against fear and procrastination. I hope that this book will help you to win in each and every level of your life, each and every area of your life. I want this book to change the way you see yourself. When you look yourself in a mirror, that you won't see yourself through the eyes of fear, but that you'll see yourself through the eyes of faith, knowing that you are a finisher and that you will finish each and every project that you put your hands on. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you, gracias, because without you, I would not be able to do what I do, what I love every day, from styling my clients to the boutique, and now my new show, the Coach Kellie Speaks Talk Show. This has been an exciting journey for me. I'm inspired by each and every last one of your comments, how you share my posts, going on to YouTube, leaving comments, just all of that just warms my heart every time I read it. And so I wanted to just let you know that you can buy my book on my website at www.coachkelliespeaks.net. Thank you again for tuning in, and I love you guys so much. Thanks.
So last week we did not do one commercial. My mom and I, we talked. So I had to ask our producer, can you please cue me in? Because when you're engaging in a really great conversation, it's like you don't even pay attention. It's just the time just go by so fast.
Right.
So we're going to take a few questions from our live stream audience. And so Dr. Sharon Cradle, she wanted to know, what nutrition suggestions do you recommend for menopausal women?
Oh my gosh, that is a great question. So there's so many things. One is, again, I cannot stress enough to really understand and know what your calorie count is, because anything over that, you're going to store. And you're storing more fat because your metabolism is starting to slow down. So that's a real thing. When it comes to foods, again, increasing protein, decreasing as much sugar as possible. And I mean, everywhere you can, you're trying to decrease the sugar thing. We were talking about how even the difference you're seeing with just not eating bread. Bread, pasta, potatoes, rice. A lot of people don't realize simple carbs are not essential. Complex carbs are. Now, complex carbs are fruits and vegetables. Those are essential for us and for our vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. We don't get a whole lot from simple carbs. We just don't. What we do get, things like thiamine and, riboflavin. I mean, the things that you're getting from grains, you can still get from green leafy vegetables. So you don't need to eat a lot of simple carbs. The other thing is using your foods for you and not against you. So there are certain foods that speed up your metabolism, like cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper speeds up your metabolism. I put cayenne pepper on anything that's supposed to be savory or salty. I put cayenne pepper in.
I'll have to go get some, because I heard people like, oh, have you tried the cayenne pepper diet?
So that's a whole different thing. Now, I'm saying cayenne pepper itself speeds up your metabolism. But the problem with the whole lemonade, cayenne pepper, there are no nutritional elements in that. You're going to lose weight. Clearly, you're going to lose weight because you're not eating anything. It's all sugar. Every single person I know who's done it, very impressed with their results, come off of that diet, and then they have to eat. Now what you've done is you've slowed your metabolism down, and everything you're eating just adds that much more weight. So it's really a setup. So don't do that to yourself. But cayenne pepper itself speeds up your metabolism. Foods like cinnamon. I don't think a lot of people really know that cinnamon is so beneficial, but cinnamon actually lowers insulin resistance. Insulin is what we need to actually process sugar. So you'll need less sugar if you actually use cinnamon. And so you just want to learn more about food. But with menopause, another big thing is vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, and lots of supplements that are getting you all the we often don't realize that we have cravings for certain foods because our body wants these vitamins, minerals, and nutrients from the food. But because we're creatures of habit, we eat the same foods all the time. And our bodies are starving for certain vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. Your body's always going to crave it if you never, ever get it. So if you take a multivitamin, if you take supplements, if you take the nutrients you're supposed to have, you actually cut these cravings out. A lot of menopausal women I talk to, they're actually craving foods. They can't understand why. Because you're losing so much from your bone. You know, we're losing it from our bones, calcium from our bones on a daily basis. That's why osteoporosis is more prevalent as we get older. There are all these things that are happening with our bodies that we don't recognize because it doesn't feel any different. Well, you have to know these things in order to combat them. So increase in vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. Water. I cannot express, you have to drink water. Water mobilizes fat cells. It's a natural appetite suppressant, and it actually flushes, fat out. So you have to drink enough water in order to actually not just lose weight, but even maintain, as she grabs her water in obedience, maintain a good body weight. One of the things I often do is I'll drink alkaline water, because a lot of us don't realize how acidic our bodies are, how certain foods, preservatives, additives, and things that are non-nutritive in our foods, colors and things, they're actually mostly acidic. So alkaline water alkalinizes your blood levels and actually helps with detoxification, which also helps with good digestion, which then helps you actually get all the nutrients you need from your food and keeps you satiated, stops you from overeating, stops you from craving. It's all a cycle.
Yeah. Someone asked what was the best protein drinks. What are you looking for in it?
So there's a lot of them. So for instance, if we're going to share my website soon, there's a protein drink that I really like. It's through Life Vantage, and it actually has something I'd never heard of before. The only reason I got involved in this is because there is really some really good products. But what I like about, they have it's called Physique Protein, and it has a slow and fast protein. I've never heard of this. So the fast protein that you take, that you're drinking in the protein drink, it kind of takes care of your immediate need and your appetite. Well, the slow protein slowly releases, so it's an appetite suppressant. I'm like, that is like brilliant. Mm-hmm. So when I drink it, I'm immediately satisfied, has a great taste, but then I don't feel hungry for, that 3 hours that I need, that 2, 3, up to 4 hours. Sometimes I have to make myself eat because of the slow protein that has acted as an appetite suppressant. So that's something that I actually provide as a service. But there's also one that I like from just Costco called, oh my goodness, not Pure Protein. That one is called Premier Protein. And it has 160 calories. It has 30 grams of protein and only 1 gram of sugar. And it's one of my favorites that's like on the market when I have to get something quick and I don't have my Physique from Life Vantage. I'll go get some of that. But anything that has high protein, low calories, and low sugar, that's actually what you're looking for in both a protein drink and a protein shake.
Awesome. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so someone said this is so good. They're not a fan of the cinnamon, but they want to make an appointment with you. Okay. And so if we can put her website up, you can share your information.
Someone was saying they were just reading about alkaline water. And someone asked, what do you do for flashes? Again, it's the vitamins and the minerals and nutrients that'll help calm some of those flashes down. A lot of times alkaline water is actually good for that too, with your pH and keeping you. So it's mostly nutrition. Nutrition is one of the best ways. A lot of people don't want to go to hormones. And so I understand that, because what people don't realize is sometimes when you ingest these extra hormones, it's just like with, hormones in foods and, chicken that makes them bigger, it actually can cause weight gain. So you might be stopping the flashes and the stuff for, some of these symptoms for menopause, but then you turn around and next thing you know, you gain weight. And so I've had a lot of patients go, what's going on? I'm like, well, it's the extra hormones. If you're taking hormones, you got to remember what hormones are. The reason birth control pills work is because they tell your body, they pretty much mimic a pregnancy. Mm. Well, in a lot of times with pregnancy, you're sort of driven to eat more. Why? For this baby that you're, feeding. And so a lot of times with people, like depot shots and things where they get big it's because extra hormones will increase your appetite. So you got to be careful with that.
That's awesome. I mean, this information is so good. I'm just sitting here like, you have a question? Our producer said he has a question, so go
Absolutely.
ahead.
How do you gain weight in a healthy way?
So you know what? Ironically, I say protein for losing weight. Protein actually helps you gain weight too, because it actually is for muscle building. So if you're trying to gain weight in a healthy way, it should be muscle mass. It shouldn't be fat. But clearly, if you want to gain weight unhealthy ways, it's all going to be sugar and fat. But the way to gain bulk is actually protein, but you have to. See, the difference with losing weight with protein is using just enough protein, not overdoing it, using just enough protein and doing lean exercises and, things like that. With gaining weight, it's actually a lot of weightlifting. It's actually adding that bulk because you're using those precursors and then you're doing the weightlifting and you're actually building mass that way. So ironically, protein actually works for both weight loss and weight gain. You just have to know. And your appetite, I give stimulant. It's funny, I give an appetite suppressant for the people who want to lose weight, and I do things like periactin or stuff like that for people who want to gain weight. I'll actually increase their appetite. So because I'm a physician, I usually will give a prescription to make you eat more, just because a lot of people after a certain while, they just can't eat anymore, and they're just like, I try. So I'll stimulate your appetite with an appetite stimulant.
Good. So let's put her website back up for those of you who are interested in seeing her. Tell us about, you have another practice that you work with that you can help them to lose weight. Is it a process? Because I've heard of people who will go get is it B12 shots and all of these different things, tummy tucks, liposuction. There's so many other things that you can do to lose weight. Now tell us, how do you use those things in a healthy way?
Right. So again, B12. So and I'm going to talk a little bit about the book that I wrote, because I actually wrote a book called The 10 Principles of Good Nutrition. And it's really the best practices for weight loss and weight management, and, health and wellness. And so detoxification, I talk about that. I talk about impounding the imposters, getting rid of things like additives and, genetically modified, organisms, GMOs, things that will actually, you think are foods, they're just food additives. They're not real food. And so your body doesn't have anything to do with it. So it's just going to store it as fat. But one of the chapters in there in the book, the 10 principles actually spell out discipline, because that's really what it boils down to. So the D was detoxification, the first I is impounding imposters, the S is setting your goals, basically, and so it goes down the line. And toward the N is nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. B12 is one of those vitamins that actually increases your metabolism, and helps you with weight loss. And so B12 is a water-soluble vitamin. So it's not likely that you're ever going to have too much of it. You just won't. The fact is, if you have a lot or too much B12, you're going to excrete the excess in your urine. So that's the good news about B12. But not having enough of it can reduce your ability to lose weight or maintain a healthy, body weight. So you want to make sure you have enough. So B12 is one of those things, and you can do it orally. You can take, B12 supplements. But what I will say is, a lot of times when you take certain supplements, when you ingest them, even with foods, they're not as bioavailable as they are when you get an injection. So getting a B12 injection is a lot of times for me optimal. I actually do a B12 shot monthly, even myself. So I do prefer it injectable versus oral, just because it's about more bioavailable. But yeah, we have that. You know, things like lipo suction is one thing, but there's a lot of time there's these machines that you get on that sort of melt away fat. You have cool sculpting, you have, you know, the heat sculpt. There's all these different, so it just depends, you know, read up on them. Some people, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. You got to know what you're getting into. I think cool sculpting is probably a little bit more effective than some of the heated versions, but it's a newer technique. But again, you have things like HCG, you have all kinds of stuff, which really, you know, recently the FDA kind of came out and said it doesn't really do anything. Why? An HCG diet is often accompanied by an 800 calorie diet plan. With or without HCG, if you were on an 800 a day diet plan, you're gonna lose weight. So a lot of times people are spending all this money on HCG and only consuming the 800 calories, when if they just did the 800 calories, they're gonna lose weight anyway. The problem I have with that is that when you come off the 800 calories and you go back to what you really need to go to for your full day, which most of us is about 1,000, 1,200 calories, you're gonna start gaining weight because you've been slowing your metabolism down on so few calories that even when you go back to the normal amount of calories, you're now gonna gain weight for a while because your metabolism's in the basement. So you don't want to slow your metabolism down. There is no need to not eat or not eat enough. When you don't eat enough, you're putting your body in a position where now it has to become a scavenger, has to take as much as it can from wherever it can, and it's going to have to slow everything down so it doesn't overdo it. It still needs your heart to beat. Your lungs still got to work. You got all these cell processes that need to, so it's going to slow everything down. So when you go back to eating food, you're going to gain weight. It happens every single time. And people are like, oh, I got to run back to the doctor and get more medicine. I'm like,
This is so interesting. So you have a question on your side. It says, Dr. Ragland, this is Tish. I have to
She wanted to know if she needs to stop drinking coffee since her flashes have increased. Absolutely. Caffeine increases. So caffeine, like cayenne pepper, increases your metabolism, but it also causes like heat with that. And so a lot of people with problems with flashing needs to be really careful about how much coffee they're drinking or anything that has caffeine. Sodas or anything that has caffeine, you want to make sure that you that you're careful with that. Tea, decaffeinated tea if you can. I'm a green tea drinker for that very reason, because it has a lot of antioxidants and it doesn't have the caffeine that would cause me to have, because I flash in a minute. I'm like, you know, I might be perimenopausal, or I don't know if I'm in the middle of it. I swear I thought I was, but then I went to the doctor. He took my hormones. He said they're normal. I disagreed, but of course I'm like, okay, I'm a patient right now, so I'm gonna have to believe you. But yeah, so there's very little there's very little caffeine that I'll allow. If I know it has caffeine, I don't ingest it, because there's naturally caffeine in some things. So I try not, like, you know, I'll still do dark chocolate every once in a while that has a small amount of caffeine in it.
And so the dark chocolate is a antioxidant.
Antioxidant, healthier for you because it has less fat. And I know I said, oh, don't worry about the fat, but it has less sugar and fat. The higher the chocolate percent, like 70%, 80% is really bitter, but it has a lot of antioxidants in it. It has less sugar and less milk fat. So it's purer. So I like
So you're trying to, because I know like wheat bread, gluten-free bread. I've switched to the gluten-free bread. I'm noticing it's a lot flakier, a little more dry, but for the sake of, you know, because I had a knee injury, and a foot injury, so me eating my normal diet and not being able to work out as extensive as I used to, I had to change my diet because my waistline was getting out of control. And so someone is asking, I used to use B12 sublingual, sublingual liquid and a turmeric.
Turmeric. So,
Okay, turmeric
that's a good-
extract. I find that I crave more dairy. My flashes are seasonal, summer. Could this combo be a factor to the flashes?
So the combination of the lingual B12 and turmeric, that's a study that needs to be done because I haven't read anything or heard of anything that has combined the two. Off the top of my head, I can't make any connection between them. I won't tell you no. I just don't know, and I prefer to be more honest than not. So I can't make the connection, but I've never heard of the two. But turmeric is another great. I'm glad you brought that up. Things like turmeric and garlic, those are great things to not only cook with when we were talking about spices, but they speed up metabolism as well. And they do well for digestion. And so turmeric is another thing that people, because people see things like turmeric pills and garlic pills and cinnamon pills, and they can't figure out why. Very reason people take cinnamon pills is because someone wrote, I'm not a fan of cinnamon. A lot of people don't like the taste of certain things, but they're good for them. So they come in pill form. So you can take cinnamon pills, believe it or not, and not have to taste the cinnamon. You can take garlic pills and not have to taste the garlic because garlic decreases inflammation. So does turmeric, by the way. And a lot of people don't realize that inflammation is a part of the obesity process, and that if you have inflammation within your intestines, it makes it difficult to digest certain foods. That means it's just going to sit there in your gut, and you're going to end up storing things, especially fats, because the nutrients aren't pulled out of it. It's, you're going to store fat more. You're going to, your digestion is lower and your metabolism is slower. So inflammation can actually impede the process of weight loss and just normal weight management. So there's a lot of little things that water is important, especially alkaline water is important for decreasing inflammation.
Yeah. Someone was asking, what do you use turmeric on? Never heard of it myself.
Turmeric is a seasoning. So I may put it in chicken or fish. You can put it on vegetables. I put it on cauliflower. You have to taste it first and see what you like or not like about it. Again, the point I was making is you may not want to use it. You may want to just take it in a pill form because it's good for you. But if you taste it first, you can determine the types of things. I mean, look, I'm huge on the internet. There's so many things out there. There are lots of recipes. You can look up just turmeric. You can put in recipes with turmeric. There's so much that's going to come up. And then you can, see, that sounds like that might be tasty, because I don't really know what you like and how you like it. But a lot of times turmeric goes with curry for me. I often put turmeric with curry. So the two combine really well together.
This is so good. I have to have you back on. Before we leave, can you tell us your website?
Sure. So there's a couple ways to get in touch with me. I have a website called bodydoc40.com. That's BODYDOC40.com. One of the reasons I started this particular website is specifically as a woman over 40, I started to notice that the things that I was doing that used to work didn't work as well anymore. And I went, And I had to really start reading about what are the things that are different when you're hitting menopause, when your metabolism's slowing down because of age. Because that thing is real. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to figure out how to counter it. So that's the reason I started that blog. And so that blog, on it, I was putting recipes and information. I actually took a hiatus for a year because I went to GW. And got in my spare time, of course, and got another degree in adult education. And it really was sort of a foundation for the book that I was writing, because we, as adults, we just learn differently. A kid gets in school and they're a clean slate. So you tell them everything that you want them to know, and they don't really have anything to counter it with. They don't have any other experiences. You say 2 + 2 is 4, they can accept that. Adults are different. When I start telling you about health and nutrition and wellness and all these things that I kind of want you to know, I have to understand that everybody comes with a set of experiences. And my mom lost weight this way, and when I was, and there's all these different stories and anecdotes, and I get it, and they are valuable, and you have to understand that I know they're valuable. So it was really this foundation for really understanding how to sort of get in a process of educating adults who have their own set of experiences and ideas and information. So after I finished that, I'm back to the blog because now my book is finished. So we can, so bodydoc40.com. My personal website again, or even just email, you can always email it, ylraglandmd@yahoo. I'm always answering questions. People are always posing questions to me, and I have no problem. And then Meridian Medical Associates LLC is on Oxon Hill Road. It's on St. Barnabas Road in Oxon Hill, Maryland. And that's Meridian Medical Associates, www.meridianmedicalassociates.com, and you can pose questions to me there as well.
Wow, this show was phenomenal. There are still questions still coming. I wish we had more time. We're going to definitely have her back on. I'm going to post her website on all of my social media outlets and share this on your page. You can go to the Coach Kellie Speaks, even on our YouTube channel, and you can catch the replay. But thank you so much, Dr. Ragland, for being a part of this. We are changing lives one person at a time. And
Absolutely.
we're definitely going to have her back on the show. But you can go on my website as well, www.coachkelliespeaks.net. And we'll see you on next week.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.